Hello, everybody. Welcome back. You know who it is. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that Kimball, United States Army veteran, retired VA rating specialist. And you know it, your VA claim nugget man. I got a special guest today. I am super excited. I know you are going to be excited. I'm not going to steal his thunder. His name is Kenneth, and he's going to let us know a little bit about what he does, his background, and you're going to be surprised because we're going to do more videos down the road. So, Kenneth, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk about this particular topic. Two raters talking about how we used to rate. But before we even get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, what it is you do, and how you came to do what it is you do.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Kenneth Davis, CEO of Veterans for Veterans, and also a co-host of a Prepare to Compete podcast, where we obviously support and educate veterans on a regular basis in regards to all aspects of the benefits. So obviously former VA Raider, also former U.S. Navy veteran. So kind of understand the ins and outs of, all of this stuff in regards to the veteran community. And to continue with that, we're actually fighting for change of veteran policy. So we're just, again, being able to support veteran and support veteran advocacy.
Well, I definitely appreciate you sharing that, Kenneth. Now, you said a couple of things, Prepare to Compete podcast. So you got a YouTube channel where you're talking about the VA claims process.
Yes, sir. We talk about, VA claims process benefits, VA home loans, real estate, and entrepreneurship. So we want to be able to shape how veterans are being able to receive their benefits, but also utilize their benefits in a more effective way.
Okay. So for those of you that are not subscribed to their channel, make sure you go over to Prepare to Compete podcast, subscribe to that channel, and show them some love. Now, Kenneth, you also said you're a former Raider.
Yes, sir.
Trained by the VA, right? Trained by the VA, going through the initial training, the monthly training. So you are a former VA Raider like myself. And that leads me into the topic of today. There's a lot of individuals on YouTube talking about the VA claims process. And a lot of people say, well, this is what Raiders want to see. And I have yet for anybody to discuss what I want, not so much me individually, but when they say Raiders, I'm included in that. And I haven't found what they said is something that I wanted to see when I rated claims. So we're going to dive into this. When you rated, what are some of the things that you wanted to see from the veteran that help you to successfully adjudicate that claim, meaning that it was easier for you to say yes opposed to no?
Wow, that's a great question. But there were obviously many things that you wanted to see, but there were pretty much three primary ones, right? Event in service, right? That was a really, really huge one. Also, medical evidence within a year. Medical evidence within a year. And when I talk about medical evidence, just to make it an easy adjudication, primary diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then from there, also a nexus, a medical opinion. Those were the three kind of primary things that made it a very simplistic process to be able to rate very easily. But there's other things that, obviously we can kind of dive in to look for. But those were kind of formerly the easiest process to be able to get a claim adjudicated very simply.
Right. And when I rated, what I want to see was something per the 38 CFR or the M21-1, and you cover some of that, especially as it pertains to direct service connection.
Yeah.
Because if they give me something, let's just say, for example, and this is something I talked about last year, an actionable and sufficient DBQ and Nexus. If those were filled out correctly per the VA regulations, I wouldn't even schedule a CMP exam.
Yeah.
As long as it met all the guidelines, it's RFD ready for decision. I'm granting the benefit out the door. A lot of veterans that, I hear a lot of veterans say, well, I submitted a Nexus. And I'm like, where's the DBQ? Because when you understand what goes into a Nexus, especially, remember, I don't know how far back you rated, but when they had paper files before VBMS, they still had the paper files, and you get that. We had yellow pieces of paper that was a CMP exam. So when it was yellow, we knew that was a CMP exam. So you would have the Nexus statement with the medical opinion, and then you have the CMP exam. The diagnostic code criteria for the 10, 0, 10, 20, 30 wasn't in the Nexus. It was in the exam. So I'm like, so if you submit the Nexus, yeah, it's sufficient, but I don't know. Okay, do I grant you 10%, 20%? So then I got to schedule a CMP exam without the Nexus. And I think that's where a lot of veterans, they go wrong, But you brought up something, especially when you stated link in service. Can you explain that piece of a link in service? What are we looking for in those medical records when it pertains to a link?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about a link in service, right? Identifiable injury, complaint, or diagnosis,
Yep.
right? That was kind of the aspect of what you're looking for in service, and and that's just the basic, right? When we talk about direct service connection, that was kind of what you're identifying. For example, if there was an ankle injury in service, a lot of times most veterans do not have the opportunity to go to the physician to be able to get sufficient linkage or sufficient diagnosis. But however, there's always follow-up examinations where the veteran talks about or complains about that ankle.
Yep.
Okay, on that ruck march. And now at that point, that is being able to identify that in-service event to connect it to the Nexus or medical opinion. That was a big thing that a lot of veterans miss out on. Just because you don't have a diagnosis doesn't mean that there isn't identifiable complaints in service that could really help you out there.
Right. And when I went through training, they told us to look for a diagnosis, for a link, see if there's a diagnosis in service, treatment, complaint, injury, or disease. Right. Those 5 things. That's what I always look for. And veterans often tell me, hey, Dwayne, I'm claiming sleep apnea. I said, okay. Under the different ways of service connection, where does it fall? What do you mean? And I know right there and then you're not ready to file that claim. Is it pre-service aggravation? Is it direct? Is it secondary? Are you already service connected for it? Is it increase? Or is it 1151 claim? Is it presumptive? And they're like, you talking Greek. I'm like, hopefully you did your intent to file, because now you got a lot more work to do. And they'll say, well, the reason why I filed this claim is because I went to the VA hospital in my primary care, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, or maybe they went to their primary care physician and they said, oh, you got this really bad back condition, file a claim. And a lot of veterans think just because they go to the local VA medical center, get a diagnosis for something, they can go under VBA, Veterans Benefit Administration, the compensation, and file a claim. It doesn't work like that. Have you come across that before?
I've come across that a ton of times, even with veterans, even talking to so much so that a CMP examiner will tell a veteran to go file a claim that is connected in some type of way, a secondary issue. They say, hey, go file a claim amongst this, and then they get denied, right? Your physician or CMP examiner isn't the rater, right? There's rules and regulations. And when we talk about the 38 CFR, also M21, we got to also identify that they are not the actual adjudicators, right?
Correct.
They only know the medical portion of that claims file. And honestly, they're supposed to be able to provide you guidance in regards to your actual primary diagnosis and not claims advice.
Right. And I was telling a veteran that just today, because he's gave that same example. And I'm like, raters are not examiners. Examiners are not raters. So we're not medical or mental health professionals. That's why there's the CMP exam process, because they are supposed to provide us with that medical information for us to help us make a determination on service connection, and service connection, then the percentage that we're going to assign based off the residuals that they put in the DBQ if they provided a positive opinion. So just before we wrap up, Kenneth, is there anything else that you could think about from a rater standpoint, since you were trained by the VA, some other nuggets or things that you could share with veterans that could help them be successful with their claim by providing maybe certain documentation, certain evidence? I know you had mentioned earlier, like at least a year of treatment, but anything else that we may not have covered?
One one thing I did want to go ahead and touch on, right? When we're talking, we spoke about the Nexus letters or medical opinions per se. Most examiners that outside providers outside of the VA will provide a Nexus letter. Veterans, I want you to understand, making sure that when you're providing, when they are providing you a Nexus letter, that is specific medical language that needs to be discussed in the Nexus letter in representation of a positive medical opinion and also a negative medical opinion. When a physician provides that medical opinion, being at least likely is not representative that it's going to be a positive state, okay? Utilizing that specific medical language is going to be able to get you the actual linkage and also positive adjudicated claim if that medical language is utilized. Okay, so I want to make sure that veterans understand utilizing specific medical language in medical opinions does matter.
Most definitely, and I agree, because I've seen veterans say, "Oh, I went to my specialist and they wrote a 29-page Nexus," and I'm like, "Who's gonna look at that?" VA employees on quotas. And I'm like, where's the rationale? What is that? So you got 29 pages and you don't have a rationale of supporting that positive opinion. You might be up that creek without that paddle, and there's a place that you don't want to be. So Kenneth, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. And veterans, Kenneth and I, we are going to be doing a video a month. So if it's a specific topic that you want us to talk about as it pertains to the VA claims process, leave me a comment. And I mean topic, not a scenario based on your particular claim. So be on the lookout for upcoming monthly videos. And we're going to be talking about those particular topics from a rater standpoint, because we both rate it. So Kenneth, definitely thank you. With that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button. And as always, share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, veterans.